Ghosts, whether you believe in them or not, there are some instances where ghosts have played a part in the court system. This week, Jackalopes will explore ghosts in the courtroom.
This week's episode of Jackalopes Explore is brought to you by Cloud Peak Center Lanes and Games, located at 1520 Coffeen Avenue in Sheridan. Stop in today to check out their amazing new arcade and prize counter, offering games and prizes for all ages and skill levels. From their full-service lounge to bowling alley and arcade, there is something for everyone. Cloud Peak Center Lanes and Games. Stop in today.
I'm Floyd Biting.
I'm Aaron Linden.
I'm Steve Sisson.
And we are your Jackalopes. Emmy is out this week. She had to take some of the animals to the vet. But we are simply friends who discuss conspiracies, the paranormal, ancient mysteries, and some of the supernatural. Go ahead, give us a like and subscribe if you like what we do here. Grant works really hard on these shows. And before we get too far into this, I want people to know I found my stories on getcivil.com. And they're kind of out there, man. I once heard Penn of Penn and Teller say that the U.S. court system only acknowledges. Well, I'm going to summarize what he said, and I hope I get it correct. Only really recognizes God on certain terms. So instances where, like in the Bible, you know, this. God tends to talk to people quite frequently, telling them to go do things. The court system does not acknowledge that. You can't go into a courtroom and say, well, God told me to do it. And they'll be like, oh, well, that's okay. But what they will do is make you, swear upon a Bible.
Yeah.
Now, if you're not religious, then you can affirm, basically say that you will tell the truth. But anyway, here's a couple instances where God did get involved in the courtroom. And once again, this is all thanks to getcivil.com. Betty Penrose sued God for $100,000 in damages in 1969.
Dude, if you're going to sue God,
sued God.
$100,000? That's it?
Right? Yeah.
I'm thinking, where's the money come from? He doesn't have a bank account, right?
Snap of the fingers.
So just make whatever money he wants, right?
Absolutely.
So
go for the $100 billion.
Why are you just waiting around?
$100 billion.
100K. It's nothing. Nothing to God. I would be like, make me an island.
Yeah,
I'm suing you to create an island specifically
just for me.
Just for me.
I like that.
But she sued God in 1969 when her Arizona home was actually struck by lightning and was burnt to the ground. So she is suing God, for damages.
But maybe, and I don't know this person, but maybe she had it coming. I mean, you get
well,
hit by
you don't
lightning.
Know. No, you got to think about it, right? Because if I was the opposing attorney, that's what I would say.
Yeah, you say, okay, we have to establish one that this is not a smiting.
Yeah, and then, yeah, exactly. Where it's like, look, if you've got an omnipotent, omnipresent being,
omnivorous God
that just knows everything in the universe, then he obviously, and I'm using he, but
for
go
a reason.
With me. For reasons.
Yeah.
Okay.
The court has not established the gender of God, as far as I know.
God has no gender, but I am going to be using the pronoun he in this. So please forgive me. But it supposedly, struck the house. Well, if you're this being, there's got to be a reason why you struck the house.
100%.
What did you do
exactly
to anger this all-knowing being?
Mm-hmm.
Her case was actually filed in California.
Oh, weird.
Based on a recent case that had transferred ownership of a property to God. So they had set a precedent that saying God was some sort of entity able to actually own property. Okay,
God owns all the property.
Now that's the thing that a
you
lot
can
of
make
people,
it, you own it, don't you?
Yeah, right.
A precedent usually has to be set, within court systems if you're going to go forward with something such as this.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Now we got to remember the year that this was done in as well. This is 1969. This wasn't anytime really recent.
In the late 1900s.
This was quite a while ago. But she won her case. Let me say that again. Betty Penrose won her lawsuit against the Almighty for $100,000 in damages.
Well, he didn't show to defend himself, right?
Right. But she was never able to collect on those damages.
So there's just some guy out there. He's like, if I find that God.
So there's a warrant out for God's arrest.
Yeah.
He's in default.
It's either kneecaps or you pay up, God. I don't know what to tell you.
I can just make my own kneecaps so you can blow them off.
It's amazing to think, and I didn't scour the California court system. This was just taken offline. But it's the idea. Have there been other lawsuits? Like, how much is God in default
Right.
in the state of California? You got to think about that, man, because technically the precedent has been set.
Yeah.
So if an earthquake, a hurricane, anything comes along that is deemed an act of God,
Well,
I could sue you for that.
Isn't basically any death an act of God in some way?
Right.
You would think.
So
you would think.
Especially if you die of natural causes. I mean, that's the natural cause.
Obviously.
I cracked up a vehicle years ago hitting 2 deer at the same time. And under insurance, it's like an act of God kind of thing, like comp, right? Never once did it cross my mind to be like, well, I'm suing God.
Well, this is
Why did
obviously.
he put those deer there? He created the deer that then came in front of my car.
You would have to, like, a good lawyer could sit there and basically say that from this point on, according to the California court system, there is no precedent. Well, there is precedent, but there's no fault.
Right.
There's no such thing as no fault anymore.
So, like, if you stub and break your toe on the edge of the bed, which I've done, I could be like, "Oh, I'm suing God."
That could be God. It could be.
Wow.
A good lawyer could probably
maybe I
argue
deserved
that.
it.
Well, here's something else too. Like, a lot of like football players, when they win the championship game, they thank God for the win, right?
Right.
So the losing team could sue God for the loss.
Where's the influence? Did you get involved in this game?
Yeah, I mean, if God helped the other team win, then that means the losing team.
There's bias.
Yeah.
Obviously bias.
But if you just lose, that's one thing. It's not a good old-fashioned smiting where he just takes everybody out. So,
But you got to ask yourself something. According to many Christian and Judeo-Christian and Islamic religions, God created the laws of the universe, right? So everything is technically God's fault.
Yeah. Yeah.
Everything.
okay.
Everything.
Okay,
Falling out of a window, the wind blowing too hard. It was all preordained.
Yeah. I guess you have to wonder how much role does free will play in those circumstances? Because where does the line exist between preordained?
Who else was involved? That's where the free will would come in, I think.
Right.
Where it's like, okay, Aaron hit 2 deer with his car. All right. Did somebody in the forest scare those deer up onto the road? Then that person's at fault.
I'm dragging everybody.
Just sue them all?
Somebody's going to have deep pockets.
You're getting sued. Yeah. You're getting sued. It's an amazing idea.
It's also ludicrous.
It absolutely is. Let's be honest. It's ludicrous. I could sue God for being born.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe I don't like it here. I didn't choose to be here.
Yeah, I'm here in the wrong year.
Somebody put me here.
Put me here 10 years earlier and I'll be happy.
I can sue him for those actions. A good lawyer could make that happen in the state of California. He's a property owner. Well, I want that property. There's my damages. Okay, now, you would think it would stop there.
You would hope.
You would think it wouldn't even go there.
But it doesn't. And you would think
it shouldn't have even been a thing.
Right.
You would think that it would at least stop in the 20th century.
Oh, man.
But wait, there's more.
Don't answer yet.
According to GetCivil.com, Nebraska State Senator Ernie Chambers filed a divine lawsuit against God in 2007. The senator filed for a judicial injunction to prevent God from creating any more floods, earthquakes, hurricanes, tornadoes, plagues, famines, devastating droughts, genocidal wars, birth defects, and the like.
I was going to say most of that falls more under HARP.
Based on what you believe.
But, yeah.
The lawsuit asserted that God could be sued in the state of Nebraska because he is omnipresent and he has agents acting in his favor. Priests, reverends, anyone in the clergy is an agent of God. Okay? So, operating for him in the earthly realm, and that because he is omniscient, he could not claim to be unaware of any harm caused by the aforementioned natural disasters. You cannot feign ignorance because you know everything. You know
there is no plausible deniability.
Not when you know everything.
Not when you know everything.
The case made it before the judge, but it was dismissed because God could not actually be at the trial.
He could have been if he wanted to be.
He may have been.
He would have just blinded everyone.
Right? Chambers maintains that he filed the lawsuit to actually make the point that any and all cases should be heard and not dismissed out of pocket.
That is interesting.
Again, this is one thing that
odd.
I've talked about. I've talked to many people about this. Law, when someone says that they've written a law and that it's all black and white, that's not real. A good lawyer could do anything. All I got to do is convince a judge or 12 individuals that this law has skipped over that, was miswritten and not understandable by the general public.
Didn't think about this. Circumstances from when it was written to now have changed.
They never addressed this in it, and so it's I was covering. For those who don't know out there, a journalist, and I was covering a court case where an individual had stolen, basically embezzled money from an organization. It wasn't a huge amount. But this lawyer, their lawyer, actually stepped up and basically said that the law here in Wyoming for theft did not actually cover the money that was stolen because the members of that organization just willy-nilly signed off on everything. And so he said that signature alone justified every single dollar that was used by that individual, whether it be for the organization or whether it be personal. It was signed off on by the board, thus not theft. Now, the judge wasn't hearing it. But as I sat there watching that case, he had a case.
Right.
That was signed off. That was approved. That was approved spending.
Higher up said, go ahead.
So was it theft? Any lawyer worth their weight knows that you can argue every single law on the books. Because all you got to do is do a little bit of language twisting and convince the judge or those 12 individuals, this is how I see it.
Yep.
How do you see it? That's why there's 12
Common
people
man.
there. Yeah.
It's all about interpretation.
How do you see the law? And if you agree with me, I just need one. Just need one of those people in that box to agree with me. And this case is out.
Yep.
So
crazy.
It's law is not as black and white as we like to think it is. You know what I mean?
I'm not suing God. Seems like a bad choice.
It seems like a really bad choice.
It does kind of seem like you're like bringing, inviting some bad things to happen.
Yes.
It's just that is why lawyers practice law.
Yeah.
Same way as doctors practice medicine. These are philosophies. And you have to kind of think on a different scale to really look at these things and say, things happen.
Right.
Things happen out of hand. Things happen because of God, if you believe that kind of thing. Well, in the state of California,
You can sue
You
God.
can sue him for it.
Bad choice, but you can
Precedent
do
has
it.
been set. So who
Yeah,
knows?
I think it's a bad choice because even if you win the lawsuit, you're not getting anything. And then who knows what you look over your shoulder for the rest of your life,
Well,
right?
poor Miss Rose never got her money.
Yeah.
So
You get up to the pearly gate, St. Peter's like, name?
Yeah.
Oh.
we've been waiting
We have
on
a
you,
whole other file for you.
madam. And he's got a counter argument. I'll just, can you get God up here, please? Oh, no, it's Betty Rose. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah, I know, right? Yeah.
We've been waiting.
Threw those slippers right on. He's on his way. You don't know. It's just, I don't know. I am not a I don't believe in like one God. So it's just strange to me.
Any of them, though. I mean, that whatever your belief system is.
Yeah.
Be like, we had a, I don't know, Vishnu or somebody, is there
Can't take it to
Buddha?
court.
You're like, it seems like a bad choice.
Well, and who's
You're
going
going to sue somebody, sue the devil. Devil made me do it. I'm suing him.
Well, and who's going to enforce it?
Well,
You know what I mean? Like Steve said, there might be a bench warrant out there for God.
How do you serve them?
How do you serve him? Do you just walk up
well,
to one of it?
you
just
can
yell at
do
the
it,
clouds.
but it's a one-way ticket.
Yeah.
Hey, throw those papers in there.
Hey, Steve, we've got an assignment for you.
He was always our best. He found anyone.
He's not coming back.
He's got papers to deliver.
Dog the bounty hunters out there like, I'll get him, man.
Yeah.
It's some people they really. I don't know if she thought maybe like the state would compensate her or what the deal was, and there are some instances I think where people who do these types of things are literally showing you, literally just doing it to show you this can be done.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Like the senator in Nebraska, where he said, he listed all these things that are going to naturally happen. Okay, it's just the nature of the beast of being here on Earth. And I think he was just trying to make a point,
yeah.
Right.
where it's like, look, man, if I can get this through our court system,
The court system needs fixed.
where are the holes?
Yeah.
So I think those things should be done. And, we were talking a little bit before we decided to sit down and do the show. Where's the taxpayers' money in all this? Well, the testing the theory is a good way to spend that money, in my opinion, because now lawyers, and like I said, it's all about precedent. Now I will look back on this case and say, hey, in Nebraska, 2007,
Right.
the judge said this, because classically, traditionally, judges won't rule against another judge. And it happens all the time, okay? But they don't like to do that.
Right, yeah.
That is not something that judges like to do. They don't get up there, and it doesn't matter about their political party. And I know it's really heated right now, but it really doesn't matter. A judge, these are good people for the most part. There have been some bad actors, but
I know a few. I can name names, but I'm not going to.
I know. Yeah, and there are some pretty horrible cases.
Yeah.
Judges convicting children to send them because they were eating kickbacks from the school or something. That's horrible. But the majority of judges out there are actually really good people. They've been vetted, and they're able to sit there and say, I'm not going to go against what this judge said back then. So precedent does happen, but precedent also gets overturned.
Mm-hmm.
So
Every once in a while.
there you go. Once again, practicing law. It's all in theory.
Nobody's ever mastered it.
No. And I don't think it's something that can be.
No.
No, it's constantly changing, ebbing and flowing.
Yeah. And I think that's actually a really great discussion for us to have regarding this, because I don't believe in ghosts. And, much to my wife's chagrin, and probably to a lot of viewers who were like, you said you were a conspiracy guy.
He's a big fat phony.
I am, but I just don't buy the ghost thing.
I am so going to take you to a ghostly place and get you ghosted up, and then you'd be like, okay.
And that's okay. I'll do it. But
maybe there were ghosts.
Yeah.
we've talked about it in the past where it's like, I will explain it.
Yeah,
all.
he'll invent some sort of explanation.
Yeah.
For
Oh, no,
it
I'm
even-
going to take him to a place where it's like,
Now, if you
right
can
in your
do
face,
that,
yeah, if I
then
can find it.
then you've accomplished something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Steve, do you?
Believe in ghosts? No.
Yeah.
No, and
Again, though, I'm one of those guys, it's like, you can't necessarily a la carte Your conspiracy, but interdimensional beings, yes?
I will accept the possibility that they exist.
Could ghosts be interdimensional beings? Could they just be on a different ethereal plane where they bop in, you see them, you're like, what the heck? And it's miss away.
But that wouldn't explain things like hauntings, where there's like a reason that this person who died in this place is haunting this, because that's not an interdimensional being. That's,
energies neither
that's a whole different
destroyed.
Yeah,
so.
like what do they say? The Winchester house?
Yeah.
You know, where it's like,
That's more just weird.
Well,
I've been there, and it's not.
Like
I didn't feel haunted. Birdcage Theater in Tombstone feels freaking haunted.
Really?
I mean, there's places in there where, and it's the desert, so I get that, there's cool air settles in spots, but you walk through these cold patches or whatever, but then just randomly all your hair stands up, and you're like,
Well, I took classes from an individual concerning something I'm not going to share now, but they said, human beings actually have a sixth sense that we, within our safety, have forgotten. We choose to ignore it, and when the hair stands up anywhere, that's the sixth sense. Yeah, and you should always pay attention to it.
Pay attention,
because someone is paying attention to you. Yeah, like being next to a cliff, Grant said.
Although being next to a cliff doesn't bother me. That's what's weird. Like, some of that stuff bothers people. Or like open water.
So you don't have like the call of the void, where if you're standing on a, you entertain the idea of, what if I just jumped right now?
I know physics, and I know what happens if I jumped, and I don't want that. I like doing stuff.
But you've never felt that pressure.
Yeah, like
I'm going to call it a pressure. Yeah, because I know what Steve's talking.
It's the call of the void, is what they call it.
Yeah. I never knew it had a name. That's a great name. I was writing a story on search and rescue and their rope rescue operations, and we were on a really high cliff, and I had my camera, and one of the rescue guys was like, "Hey. Just, it's back there, buddy. Don't be backing up and you suddenly topple off while you got that camera in your hand." And I said, "Thank you." And I turned around, and man, there it was. Just miles and miles and miles of forest. And I'm standing just on the edge. And there's this pressure that hits where you're like, what if I just fall?
And it's not like that's how you describe it, like, what if I, but it's not like you're just entertaining the thought. It's like you almost feel the urge to do it.
It's a pull.
Yeah, and
it's a pull.
And
you guys have been crossbred with lemmings at some point.
Maybe,
I'm just not getting
maybe it's that shared chromosome that we've got where the lemmings are like, just do it.
Just do it, man.
Just do it, man.
Everyone else is doing it. Fine.
Bob went.
I don't know.
He didn't complain.
Maybe. All right, Steve, what did you find,
well,
brother?
We're talking about like hauntings and ghosts and stuff. I was looking at laws that circulate around haunted houses and like the selling of haunted houses and that kind of stuff. Now, what I did find was there are a few states that have laws that deal with this, but it's not exactly what you would think initially when you think like a law against selling a haunted house or something like that. In New York, there was actually a famous case that set a precedent that if a house was publicly marketed as being haunted, like it was in media, like on a TV show about haunted houses or something like that, and you publicly said, oh yeah, this is a haunted house, then the seller has to disclose that. And in this case...
So like the Amityville home.
Yeah, or anything that appears on. I think in this particular case, it was in like a Reader's Digest article about haunted houses, and it was featured in that article. And there was an out-of-state buyer who didn't know about this, and then once they learned about its haunted status, they wanted to back out. And so he actually did end up eventually. I think initially he didn't win the case, but eventually he did, and he was able to get his deposit back.
Wow.
So that's a little different from just saying, you have to disclose if the house is haunted. You have to disclose if you've publicly said the house is haunted.
Okay, all right.
So that kind of still falls on the, established rules of, not paranormal stuff, but in the actual real physical world.
That's fascinating because I took the other route where I thought, you have to disclose whether or not it's haunted so people can go back out. But at the same time, disclosing that it's haunted could actually get buyers.
Oh, totally.
Through your door.
Yeah, I mean, it eliminates one group, but attracts another.
Yeah.
So.
And that's using using something, in my opinion, fictional
Right.
to get more money for something that is
Although,
real.
like,
there could be a con.
I'm all down for like going to the old abandoned, insane asylum.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
spending the night,
Yeah.
like pulling out your ghost stuff and whatever. And I'm totally would go do stuff like that. I don't want to live in a place. Like if I'm like, hey, is this house haunted? They're like, oh yeah. I'd be like, okay, I'm out. Like, screw that.
I'm not
Yeah.
buying that.
No.
Yeah.
You could buy it.
There's Ouija boards in every wall. And there's ghosts, and you'll hear a lot of knocking all the time. No. I don't want to live in it.
But
I'll see it.
But you could buy it and then use it as like a stay the night here type attraction.
Oh,
BRB,
like a
thing.
bed and breakfast.
Yeah.
Yeah, a BRB.
Mm-hmm.
That could really attract a lot of people.
It probably would. My brother actually stayed at a place, I want to say it was in New Orleans, old plantation place, and it was purported to be haunted. And he said it was funny because it was haunted by the ghost of a little girl, and she loved makeup. And they had gone out for dinner and whatever and come back, and there was talcum powder all over the floor with like these little footprints in it.
Mm.
And the makeup was kind of askew. And I'm like, yeah, but it could be like just the people that own the place.
Yeah.
Just like
Yeah.
that would be so cool because
Once again, a con, man.
Yeah.
word of mouth, man.
Yeah.
But my brother says he goes, so we go to bed, sleeping, and he has a dream that the door open and this little girl comes running in and jumps on the bed. And right when she lands where he is, he sat up like, they left.
Really?
Yeah, it was like 2 a.m.
It was enough to.
It was enough it wasn't enough for him. His wife at the time was like, I'm going to sleep in the car.
Yeah.
And
so
he
now
was like, okay,
that's,
well, we'll just leave.
that's the problem with having an operation like that is like normally bed and breakfast or, Airbnb stuff, you have a problem with the people staying there properly cleaning up before they leave, and you've got to take care of all that
Right.
stuff. These people run out scared out of their minds
Yeah.
and leave who knows what behind.
Yeah.
I think the maintenance on a place like that might be a little tiresome.
And it could, and you could have, like a whole JJ Holmes thing going on. In there
Yeah,
where
right.
You got it all set up that when they step here, the moan happens. When they open this door, it's creaky. You could literally set it up to create the atmosphere,
Right.
so that you've already got a believer.
Mm-hmm.
They walk through the door. You've got these little things set up throughout the house. It's slightly askew, so everything might move just a little bit on its own. There's certain cons that you could really do here. And maybe Holmes was a bad example because he murdered his people who stayed at his house.
You're right.
But like
Trying to really make
I'm
it
just
haunted.
saying, like basically, you could make the entire place feel haunted.
Right.
And once you have a believer, you don't need to do anything past that.
Right. Yeah.
They'll
true.
do it themselves, And like you said, then they'll jump online. 5 stars, stayed here,
Yeah.
ghosts everywhere.
Ghost
moans in the
jumped
night.
on me.
I soiled myself the first night. 5 stars.
Had to run out. Went back for phone, making, evaluation on lawn now.
Left phone.
I mean, it's crazy. You could really make a buck. You could turn
Yeah,
some
you
money,
could.
man.
Yeah, absolutely. you
So,
could.
what else you find? Just that one?
No, there's a few other states that have similar laws. In New Jersey, sellers must truthfully answer if asked about paranormal activity. And that one, I think, does get into that gray area. Because how do you know if they're truthfully answering about any paranormal activity?
Or if it's somebody like me who just doesn't believe it, and I'm like, I don't know, the
Yeah.
door opens on its own. It's weird.
Not paranormal, it's
Right.
just stuff happens.
Just, yeah.
Yeah,
It
and then-
creaks in the
Draft.
night.
Yeah.
Just a weird draft.
And I see
It might
visions of
be.
people all the time, but it could just be what I ate that night.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
The
that
heater
one I
kicks
think.
on, and all of a sudden, everyone in the house hears the moan. Huh?
Yeah, so that one I think does. I mean, the New York one is pretty cut and dried. I think that
Right.
if you publicly talk about the house being haunted, then you've got to disclose that.
Mm-hmm.
But in this one, you have to truthfully answer about paranormal activity. Well, your interpretation of what is actually going on.
Where's that, Jersey?
Yeah, that's in New Jersey.
So I can imagine, like, hey, Floyd, I'm buying your house. Is it haunted? And you're like, oh, no. Why? Why would you think that? Because you haven't slept in millennia.
Your eyes are pretty wide. I can see the New York one because number one, you've talked about it publicly, saying that it's haunted. I could wake up at 3 a.m. and there's, kooks on my lawn. Walking around taking pictures of my house. I read in Reader's Digest that this place is haunted. Now all of a sudden I'm a landmark.
Right.
And I'm a very private person. So that would annoy the hell out of me. And yeah, I could see that for sure.
The haunted bus tour comes by every day.
Right.
Yeah.
With
So
the big megaphone. If you
annoying.
look to your right.
You can see someone in the window. It's Floyd.
Why is he taking his pants off?
Again.
Ooh, okay, on to the next house.
Yeah, so the New Jersey one, I think, does kind of fall into that gray area because I don't know how you would determine if someone is being truthful about the paranormal activity.
Or believes it.
Yeah, because if they don't personally believe it and they say nothing happened, then you move into the house and stuff's happening and you're...
How do you prove, that they were lying?
Yeah.
I mean, if we were sitting there, if I sold my house to Aaron and he believes in it and I don't, and I'm like, it's got cold spots. I don't know why, but it's got cold spots. And Aaron's like, it's a ghost and you didn't divulge this information, so I'm suing you.
Yeah.
I could be like, well, I don't believe in that.
Right.
So, I would literally look at the judge and say, how are you going to award this person, a settlement from me who doesn't even believe in what they're talking about?
Yeah.
Where does that line come in?
Yeah, that one to me seems like there's a lot of room for interpretation in the New Jersey one. In California, they require disclosure of deaths on the property within the last 3 years, which
I think that
makes
fair.
sense.
I think that's
fair. Now, of course, that you could open up the door to hauntings there, but it doesn't. The law doesn't specifically cover that.
Yeah.
So I think that one totally makes sense to me.
I think you should have to disclose that, though.
Yes, I think so.
Like, this is like our dream house. This is a great property. Oh, well, 12 people died here.
Right. Yeah, if it's one thing if like great grandma passed away in the bedroom one night.
Yeah.
But another thing if 18 people were found dead in the living room, that's a whole different story.
What about like I have to do some research on where this happened, but what about like the Hail Bob?
Yeah, the Heaven's Gate.
Right.
Heaven's Gate.
Yeah,
I don't want to buy that, Joe.
All these people committed suicide and unalived themselves in one day. And all of a sudden, you're just like, I don't know if I want to.
Hey, welcome to the Jim Jones compound. It's on sale for a great price. No,
so disclosure of that totally makes sense because
Yeah.
you should be aware of that, and that should be part of the decision that you make when you decide to buy a place.
And just so you know, I just want to say that Emmy and I did talk about this last night because she knew she wasn't going to be able to make the show. And that is what she brought up. She said, you should be required by law to tell me if someone has...
But with that, California, 3 years.
3 years. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, 3 years and a week ago.
Yep.
3 years in a week, man. Maybe
Why
someone
3
along the
weeks?
way.
Yeah, 3 years. I mean, is what happens, and it's the evil spirits move out after 3 years, or
Yeah, they get an eviction notice.
the bad juju goes away.
You've dwelled long enough. Move on.
Yeah,
You either start moaning and pay some bills, or you get out, buddy.
yeah. The 3 year does seem. I'd like to know how they arrived at that
determined
timeline.
that?
Yeah, because
That's weird.
Because that seems like it's fairly recent, but not that recent.
Seems like a home inspector's, where they're like, I don't know, 3, Joe. Just put 3.
Yeah.
3.
I mean, 5 seems
move
like
on
a little
after.
long. Yeah.
It may actually coincide with like code rules or something.
Maybe.
You know what I mean? Where it's
Maybe.
like, well, just make it, steal part of this code.
Let's see, you have to retain your tax records for 7. Make it half of that, and then we don't want an odd number of 3.6, so just make it 3 years.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, round down.
And similar to that, Minnesota and Massachusetts both have laws about disclosing stigmatized properties. And that says it's not always required unless directly asked. But that means like anything bad went down in the property, I guess. But stigmatized
What does that
kind
mean?
of brings on that, like, they put the hex on it or something. It kind of brings that whole philosophy into it.
That's interesting. Yeah, what would define a stigmatized property?
Yeah.
Was there a shooting? Does domestic violence coincide with that?
Yeah, or does
Does
like
any bad thing? I mean, bad stuff.
Yeah,
happens.
Like the kids were playing with the Ouija board one night and some weird stuff happened. Does that count?
Does that count as stigmatism?
Yes.
Emmy would say yes.
Yeah.
Aaron says yes.
I mean, I think if there was an exorcism in one of the rooms, that probably.
I don't know. Does a door to hell really?
There's a portal in the basement.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes you hear the word Zool when you open the refrigerator. Other times,
I've replaced the fridge 3 times.
It seems like it's not tied to the fridge.
Hey, Ma, they got a smart fridge from 1957.
That's the only stuff I have about like ghosts and properties. I did find an anti-alien hunting law in Wyoming. I don't know if that's anything.
No.
Yeah. This one,
I didn't find that. I'm so excited right now.
1887 is the year that this is attributed to, which I think is interesting because you would think 50s maybe.
1887.
1887
Dude.
anti-alien hunting law. Now, I wonder how much of this is just folklore versus actually a law that's on the book somewhere, because it's really fuzzy trying to find specific stuff that you can actually track down and nail as being an actual thing. But it says that it passed in 1887. The law reportedly made it illegal to hunt extraterrestrials in Wyoming. There's no official record of anyone being arrested under this law, which, that kind of makes sense, I guess.
No, it doesn't.
I mean, they have to be caught hunting the... if you aren't caught doing it.
If you're out there wandering the hills and the sheriff says, "What you doing out here?" "I'm looking for ET." "That's it, son.
You're going downtown.
Yeah.
You got a license?" "In the truck."
Don't need one.
That was 1886. In 1887, they're like, okay, because of this, we've got to pass a law against it. So, no record of anyone being arrested under it. No modern legal references confirming that the law still exists in the legal code anywhere. Some think it was possibly a joke or publicity stunt. But 1887, that's really early.
That's an odd year, isn't it?
Yeah.
So one of the reasons that I kind of brought this episode topic up is, whatever you think about it, it all stemmed from something, right?
Yeah,
I mean, there's laws on books that somebody had to sit down and it had to be adjudicated, where they're like, well, the anti-extraterrestrial law of 1887, we need that.
Yep.
What?
Yeah.
Why?
I could see, New Mexico, Roswell, late 40s, passing some, but Wyoming in 1887.
It's just that
Cowboys and aliens.
Right.
Like, what happened where someone walked into legislature, stood on that Senate floor, or the House floor, and basically said, "We need a law against this."
Yeah.
And we have the only intergalactic spaceport now.
Right.
So,
when was that made, though? That was way after.
That was way after. That was like in the 80s, I think.
So I couldn't find a whole lot of information about it.
Wyoming?
Yeah, I mean,
Devil's Tower, Close Encounters.
Maybe. I mean, it could be some sort of tourism thing, but like in 1887, that doesn't seem.
I don't think there was tourism.
No.
In 1880, that was trying to survive.
Yeah.
In 1887.
I mean, I don't think a lot of people understand, especially those who may be watching us either back east or in foreign countries. Wyoming's pretty rural, and up until even the 1950s, and probably even beyond that, there was a lot of homes in this state. No running water, no electricity.
Oh yeah,
it was common. We're pretty rural, and so to think 1887, someone took the time to make and create that law, get it voted into law.
Right.
That's
so
pretty staggering.
clearly. There were UFO sightings. Clearly,
yeah,
there must have been ET sightings.
And somebody like Aaron who's out there just trying to shoot at it.
Yeah,
and
shoot
the
at the
bullets,
sky.
and they were just worried, right?
Right.
Like, that's actually pretty plausible, Steve. Like, so someone sees what they think is a UFO. Jim Bob runs back, grabs his shotgun, starts shooting crazy into the air in town. The sheriff's like, "Why are you shooting, Jim Bob?" And he's like, "Well, I'm shooting aliens." He's like, "Well, could you show me the aliens?" "Well, I can't because they flew off." "Okay, well, I got to stop all these people shooting crazy into the air. I'll create a law. You guys just
but in
aren't
1887, everybody shot crazy into the air.
That's very
They'd be like,
true.
"I wanted the card game."
Like, there are still buildings in Cheyenne, Laramie,
bullet
and
holes.
a lot of cities that have the bullet holes from people in saloons and bars just going nuts, man.
Yeah.
So, that's a good point.
That's
There was a lot of
really
shooting going
early.
on back then.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's like I said, the evidence for it is really minimal.
It almost reminds me, though, of that story that we covered. I don't even know what episode that was. Where wasn't it like the guys in the carriage and they came upon
Yes.
the aliens?
Yeah. Yeah.
And the aliens were like trying to take them, and they were like, "Well, we don't want to go with you." And
That was first published alien encounters that we could find.
Yep.
The oldest ones that we could find.
And that was like way back when.
Yeah.
So maybe, I mean, But that's the point of this episode is all that crap came from somewhere. Like,
Yeah. Even if it was just a joke, the joke started somehow.
right.
So I mean, something brought that
and
idea
even if it wasn't
up.
like a joke, it was like somebody was like, I'm telling you, Sheriff, there was this big silver cigar shape, and then these gray guys came out. And I had to shoot at it. Okay.
Give me pancakes.
Yeah. So that's all I could find on it is that there's talk of it existing. I couldn't find in that we had like a newspaper article where they had the account of the encounter. I couldn't find anything like that to back this up, but
Makes you wonder why the government of Wyoming made a secret law.
right. Yeah.
Hmm?
That may or may not still exist.
That's
Big
crazy.
surprise, guys.
Yeah, right. Lizard person. It's funny though for the haunted homes because the other Aaron has a friend out in Simi Valley that's a real estate agent, and she literally recently, as of the recording of this episode, maybe it's sold by now, but it was the house that they filmed Poltergeist at.
Oh, wow.
And I mean, multi-million-dollar property. And I'm like, it was never reported that actual site was haunted.
Mm-hmm.
But then there's a whole poltergeist curse of
Yeah,
the
right.
people in
Yep.
the movie. And I don't know that I'd want that house. If somebody was like, you know what, for $1, okay, maybe for $1, and then I just VRBO it. But I don't know if I want to hang out
you got to
there.
think about how many people have lived in there, and because Poltergeist is a pretty old movie now.
70,
Yeah.
early 70s.
70s, yeah.
Was it?
Yeah?
Because it came after E.T., didn't it?
We'll find out right now.
Did it come after E.T.?
I want to say
Maybe it
E.T. was supposed to be Poltergeist,
Really?
but he decided that the alien wasn't going to prey on the family. He was going to be a friend of the family. And then he went off and made Poltergeist.
It was June 4th, 1982.
Yeah.
Okay.
To which I would have been 6.
I was 2.
And my folks thought it was a good idea.
Oh, really?
To take me to the movie.
Poltergeist?
Oh, I saw it in
And-
the theater.
That's
Oh,
why
wow.
he is the way he is.
Hi.
There you go. How do
Poster
you make
child.
a conspiracy theorist?
Man, that's it.
Just show
At the
Poltergeist.
time that it came out, it was rated G. Because back then it was just general audience. It wasn't like, well, PG-13.
Oh, no,
There's some
yeah, that's right. The
guidelines
rating
and-
system really didn't develop.
Yeah, it
until
was-
There was
later
G,
on, huh?
PG.
It was
Or
Temple of Doom, I think,
X.
that started the PG.
Yes.
The
13.
PG. Yeah, wow. Holy cow, man. We're old, guys.
Yeah. So that was what, 83, 84?
Yeah.
Temple of Doom?
That's
Scary.
man. Yeah, so,
Scary.
but again, could be a con.
So, I, oddly enough, chose Bigfoot protection. So, several states in the U.S. have laws or resolutions that offer some sort of form of protection for Bigfoot or Sasquatch.
You know what? Bravo.
Yeah, right.
Bravo.
They're protecting them.
Just in case.
So they're being proactive.
So,
Just in case.
Washington, Skamina County, 1969, passed Ordinance 6901, making it illegal to kill a Bigfoot, initially classifying as a felony punishable
Oh, wow.
by up to 5 years in prison or a $10,000 fine or both. It was amended in 1984 to reduce the penalty to a misdemeanor with a maximum of 1 year of jail and or a $1,000 fine for premeditated killing and a lesser penalty for accidental slaying. So I suppose,
Get
you're
hit by the
wandering around the
car.
woods and here comes Bigfoot and you're like, shiv him. It was more like manslaughter, Bigfoot slaughter.
I'll see you in the yard, BF.
The county was also declared a Sasquatch refuge. So it was reflecting concerns about armed hunters posing risk to public safety rather than a firm belief in
I can
Bigfoot's
see.
existence.
Well, I mean, it's Washington, right?
Right.
That's what you said. Okay. A lot of Bigfoot sightings in Washington. I would actually be kind of scared of individuals looking for something to do, being a little out there, loading up their rifles, and suddenly filling my forest because there's not a season.
Right.
Right.
Okay, hunting season, I know where the people are going to be. We have designated areas. You can be out there with your gun from this time to this time. And other people, recreationalists, would be like, well, the forest is full of hunters. I'd rather not go out there.
Right.
But if there's no season, all of a sudden now you got all these Bigfoot hunters out there with, well, it's a big animal, so we better get the elephant gun. We better get the 454 Casull. We better have, with all these massive guns going crazy. I see that. Yeah. Absolutely.
Woo, Cletus! It's almost Bigfoot season.
Yep,
And they're like,
But
getting out there.
That's a great way
Shooting
to
UFOs into the air.
That's a great way to logically justify the law that actually exists,
Right.
because they actually legitimately want to protect Bigfoot.
Right. Whatcom County, 1991. They passed Resolution 92043, designating itself as Sasquatch Protection and Refuge Area. While not a binding law with penalties, it symbolically protects Bigfoot and reflects the region's folklore. California, they have a regulation that lists this as non-game mammal and any animal not explicitly included, such as Bigfoot, cannot legally be hunted. This means that if a Bigfoot were encountered, it would be protected by default under the state law as an unclassified species. In Oregon, similar to California, they lack a specific Bigfoot protection law, but its wildlife laws classify any animal not listed as huntable under Oregon wildlife regulations as prohibited.
Yeah.
So you come across something, you're like, I don't know what that is.
Yeah.
Can't
shoot it.
It's
Well, I
protected.
think that's actually really good, and it also lends credence to the idea where someone's like, well, if I saw Bigfoot, I'd shoot him and pack him into town.
Right.
Well, if you did, you better have $1,000 in your pocket.
Yeah,
You're gonna
and
get fined.
a couple years to spend in prison.
Yep.
Although other states do not have any explicit law protecting Bigfoot, though there are some that actually kind of go a little bit opposite. Texas, of course, Texas.
Right,
How you
here
doing?
we go, Lone Star.
Notably, Texas takes the opposite approach. The Texas Parks and Wildlife Department has stated that Bigfoot, not being a protected species, could legally be hunted on private property with landowner consent, as it falls under non-protected, non-game wildlife. I'm going to open a Bigfoot
hunting.
high fence operation in Texas.
It just, a couple $100. Go
Oh,
out there,
no.
see what the...
I'm thinking, like, you want to shoot a Bigfoot, $5 million.
Well, what are you going to...
You
What
want-
if I don't come back with a Bigfoot?
You
got-
want the chance to shoot the Bigfoot.
There you go.
$2 million.
You're paying just for the opportunity
Yeah. You
to
get- you
hunt
get
it
the-
down.
Yeah, you might not see him.
You get the
still
laminated
pay.
card afterwards, like I took a shot at Bigfoot. That's
100%. 100%. I went on
Little
a
video
Bigfoot,
pinning a medal on him.
I went on a Bigfoot hunting
I went on-
excursion,
Oh, that'd
and
be great.
all I got was this lousy T-shirt. Oklahoma, 2021, state lawmaker proposed a bill to establish a Bigfoot hunting season with licenses and a $25,000 reward for capture, aiming to boost tourism. However, this was not a protection law, so it didn't pass.
okay.
So, although there are some states that have said, nope, Bigfoot's protected, or some states that have said, well, he doesn't really fall under a hunted species, so he's protected. There's other states that are like, yeah, go get it.
Yeah, go get it.
Just go get one.
Yeah. Well, also at the same time, you think about being the state where someone finally got one,
Right?
Oh, man.
where someone like and oh my gosh, think the publicity the world over, it would be one of the biggest news days in all of human history.
Mm-hmm.
So you imagine like somebody hits one with their car in like, I don't know, whatever, Klamath Falls or someday. Do you know how many people would be there overnight?
Oh my,
Oh my
goodness,
God.
Yeah.
Over
The place
night.
would you wouldn't have room.
You wouldn't have room.
You wouldn't have room. Everyone would go down there. Every news station on earth would be hauling butt over there, from the BBC
Oh, and just-
to Fox News.
People.
Everyone.
Yeah, you'd have activists. You'd have
Every
Oh my
single Bigfoot enthusiast group. You'd have critics going there to say that it's not Bigfoot.
Right.
You'd have biologists, scientists, game wardens. That, not just to say the crazy kook conspiracy theorists.
Oh,
that
we'd all
we
be
are.
there.
We'd all be there.
Yeah.
Because
Look, he's in the glass case.
you got a Bigfoot, right? Like,
Yeah.
what a huge moment for mankind that would be.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And at the shameful death of an animal. But like, if it was hit with a car
Yeah.
as opposed to being shot,
Yeah.
I'd be like, think I'd be happier about it.
It's
But
kind of like Harry and the Hendersons.
yeah,
Yeah.
But it's man, wow, that would be a great day. Just like if somebody could actually contain a ghost and say, "See, Floyd, told you."
See, here it is, Floyd.
I
Here's
would
your
be
ghost.
shocked if they found a big ghost and it wasn't in like Washington or Oregon. If it was in Texas, that would be really surprising to
A
me.
little far south.
Yeah.
Yeah. Most of the time,
But can you
they're up
imagine
higher
though?
north,
You're
Pacific
driving
Northwest.
through Skamina County, tooling along. Dee, dee, dee. You hit a Bigfoot. You're like, I'm at a crossroads. Do I bury the body because I don't
I
want
got
a
$1,000
fine and I don't want to go to prison, or do I haul it into town and be like,
Yeah.
I
Hit
have
a
a
tree?
Bigfoot?
Yeah, just drag it off to the side of the road.
Right.
Yeah, so the theory, it possibly exists that something like that has already happened, where they just thought, I don't want any part of this. This is
Right.
Let's make it go away. And
God,
they
that's a good point. Like, it could have happened.
yeah, but because
Like a hunter's out there and he's taking a shot, at something, and he randomly hits a Bigfoot, goes over there and he's like, I don't need this.
yeah,
Nope.
Yeah.
Nope. It's not going to be me.
yeah,
Nope.
It's
and that's
not gonna be
because
me.
of the laws that exist.
Like how many laws that exist, or how many people have we talked about that, like they were abducted by aliens and like, I'm not talking
I'm not
about
saying,
it.
yeah. Oh, man.
I am not saying
Yeah.
a word.
Yeah. A lot of people out there, and that's something that we have talked about is like people who get abducted and don't come forward with their story because they're like, my life is already too complicated as is, and nobody needs to know about this. So I'm going to call it a dream. And this itchy bump on the back of my neck that I've had for 6 months is just an ingrown hair. And I am going to go about my day. Like, that's it.
Yep.
I think there are more people who've experienced that than have come forward.
oh yeah,
Oh, I'm sure.
yeah,
I'm sure. But again, these laws exist,
Mhm.
which just again gives credence to the fact that like people believe in this stuff enough that they're creating laws.
Mhm. yeah.
I mean, if I came to you and I was like, okay, Floyd, clearly from the Wizard of Oz, there's winged monkeys and we have to protect them. Like, you'd be like,
What are you
what
talking?
are you talking? But they got enough people to go, yep, we're going to
Solid.
do that.
Yeah. Well, and I think, first off, eyewitness testimony is one of the worst pieces of evidence
Right.
in a court of law. I think everybody knows that. But eyewitness testimony is all we got to go on Bigfoot.
Mm-hmm.
And if eyewitness testimony is enough to convict an individual of murder and get them sentenced to death, I think eyewitness testimony is enough. And we've had enough individuals actually say, yes, there's something out there. Yes, this is what it looks like. Yes, it's intelligent. Okay, let's make a law to protect it. Even if we haven't captured one and classified it yet, enough people have said that it's there. So let's make a law. Otherwise, your forest is going to be flooded with these individuals wanting to shoot anything that moves out there.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where, like, in those particular cases where you're classifying it as protected, there's not a whole lot of harm in doing that.
No, yeah.
And it probably helps boost tourism a little bit as well. So,
Yeah.
I mean, it's not a bad idea.
That's another great point, the tourism thing. You could be like, well, around in this county, Bigfoot's protected.
Exactly.
Just put that gun back inside your truck and get on now.
So your chances of seeing one, pretty good. pretty good.
Higher than most. Because they all flock here from Texas.
What do you mean you didn't see? Well, they must have just been sleeping.
There was a mass migration.
Oklahoma.
Yeah, there was a mass migration from Texas. What year was that law passed? Right around that time. They all came out here where they were safe.
It's just Bigfoot going, so well, look what they did in Washington. Let's get the hell out of here.
Get the hell out of
I've been telling you we need to move. Now's the time.
Grab the kiddos. Jump on the rock.
Let's go.
Still not moving. We'll get there. We'll get there.
Time to teleport, because that's what
That's what they do.
interdimensional.
I'm telling you.
Interdimensional
I'm telling
Bigfoot
you.
beings.
I honestly think, that's a good theory, man. Bigfoot is a trans-dimensional being who pops in and out of our reality without even realizing it. We probably scare them as much as they scare us. It's a theory. And, they're probably telling their buddies about these freaking little hairless monkeys that are running around all over the place. They come in all kinds kinds of colors. These things are terrible.
They were going 30 miles an hour in a can. Oh, okay. Okay, Floyd Bigfoot.
That one had a boomstick.
Okay. Get him his medication.
Yeah.
We don't know. They could be. They could be, man. They could be telling stories back at the house, and guys are just like, oh my God, here we go.
They live in big upright caves.
Right. The hairless big feet that are out there.
The hairless Smallfoot.
Yeah,
The
Smallfoot.
little
Okay.
pygmy people in the forest. Yeah. But yeah,
A lot of them are
laws.
covered in plaid and orange.
You should have seen the pattern. He had an island on his shirt. And I don't know what the tree was, but it came up at an angle.
And do they have laws protecting us? No, it's free for all.
Yeah, it's a
if you
free
see
for
one,
Grab it. Oh, man. You know, I the Bigfoot thing, I hope it's real.
Yeah.
I Bigfoot, I hope is real. I've never had an encounter, of course. You know, looking back through things, I have had certain encounters. I wouldn't say an encounter. I had a sighting, and that kind of sparked my interest in all of this stuff. But it was very, brief. I've never had an interaction with a ghost. I've never been to a place that I, felt had like bad energy or anything like that.
You've never sued God.
Yeah, well,
not yet.
I'm just saying that like some people out there believe something enough that, let's take action on it and let's take legal action on it. And I think almost every law could be looked at and just scoffed at is like, really, And sometimes people get a little crazy
But
with
it's
their
the
laws.
Dragon Protection Act of
Yeah.
1692.
Well,
Okay.
and I was telling Sisson this morning about laws that used to be in Wyoming that were, okay, this is the equality state, but there was at one time a law in this state where a woman could not be within so many feet of a bar.
Mhm.
And that was a law that, a sheriff could take action on. Your wife came charging into the bar, grabbed you by the ear, and then the sheriff could be like, sorry, ma'am, I know he's got to get back to the house, but you broke the law and take you to jail. It could happen, and it was on the books. So laws change. Laws are kind of a reflection of our society. They're the defining, laws of the society. They shape our civilization, reflect our culture, they reflect our morals, they reflect our ideals and our values. So if people,
even recently, like drones of New Jersey, like
Yeah.
no fly zone. Like there's
Yep.
a law because we don't know what the heck's going on.
Yeah.
So we have to implement a law.
yeah, and I don't believe the current administration's story about that. It just suddenly stopped,
Right.
and they're like, "Oh, well, it was ours. Okay, no more questions. Bye."
right.
Yeah,
Nah,
there's something sketchy.
It's weird.
And the thing is, that law will stay there, and then decades from now, people will go, What's caused
why?
that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What? So someone just flew a bunch of drones over New Jersey?
Yeah.
And luckily they're able to look back,
Mhm.
and hopefully have, take out your phone and look at, or your watch and look it up, whatever.
Yeah.
But
Now there's better evidence, more trails.
right,
but
right. We can track it, but like yours,
Yeah.
Can't track that.
The evidence, the trail's gone cold.
Why is there a law?
1887 anti-alien shooting law.
I'm all with Steve's.
See, so here's the problem.
Odd
though.
year.
Yeah.
Strange
Somebody
year.
in Wyoming is going to have an encounter. They're going to shoot the alien. They're going to be like, well, dust off the archives
Yep.
because you're going to jail.
That's a fine.
That's a fine.
That's a fine.
You owe us 2 subs.
That'll be one donkey mule. Take him around back. Put him with the others.
I told you we should have updated this law.
Oh, man. All right. Laws are crazy. I think we're all crazy. I think humanity's just crazy. Some of us are just less crazy than others.
And some are more.
I don't plan on buying or selling a house that's haunted. I do believe that some bad actors out there could probably really take advantage of people who believe. But in any regard, people do that, like people suing God, people who don't believe in God or have any kind of religion or spirituality at all can take advantage of those who do just by simply acting like you're a preacher. You know what I mean? They do it because you'll give me money for my church. And so you can con your way in there, and there's no way to take somebody to court and prove that you don't believe it. So
Yeah.
we're always going to get that kind of stuff. As for California,
Well,
Enough said.
Just add it to the list.
yeah.
California.
But I do think it's interesting that precedent is on the books. God is a property owner, and God can be sued. That's
wild.
That's pretty
And
wild.
aliens can't be shot in Wyoming.
And aliens cannot be shot in. You know what? We've got an alien story here in Wyoming that actually took place. What was it? The 60s or 70s?
He
where
tried to shoot him.
Well, he didn't try to shoot the alien.
Right, he tried to
was
shoot the
shooting the deer.
spacecraft.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
was the deer, and the
Yeah.
aircraft
Yeah.
or the spacecraft got in the way.
Yep.
So
Technically, he could have probably been.
he could have been fine.
Sighted.
He
He was-
shot an alien spacecraft.
He was treading on dangerous ground for sure.
He clearly did not know about that law.
Yeah. Could you imagine? You go through this whole experience, and if you didn't see that show, look it up. It's amazing.
It's
Chisel
Chisel
Hand.
Hand.
Oh,
yeah.
Chisel Hand.
That's one of our earliest
Emmy's
ones.
favorites. She loves
Yeah.
Chisel Hand. But then all of a sudden the sheriff shows up and says, "Well, buddy, I gotta cite you."
Right.
You went through all this, but
Yeah,
I
as
gotta
if the
cite
probing
you.
wasn't bad enough. Now you've got to pay the fine.
Now you're going to prison, and there will be more probing.
So I'll take that donkey. All right. Got anything else, Aaron? It was your choice, so go ahead. Give me the
I
last
just
word.
think it's interesting that I'll say it again, that laws are on books because people believe in this stuff enough that it's been chronicled through the judicial system. Wow, I'm having a hell of a day. I
got
just
it
got
out,
back
though.
from vacation.
Well done. We're still trying to turn it back on.
Yeah, right. Reboot. The haunted houses, aliens, Bigfoot, suing God, like that stuff's out there. And we didn't even look for the crazy laws.
Yeah. This isn't the crazy ones.
These are just like the run-of-the-mill, more well-known laws. I'm sure there's laws out there that are way crazier than that.
Yep.
But yeah, it's just fun. It's a fun topic.
Yeah. It's fun to talk about. It's fun to see. And if you've ever shot at an alien spacecraft in Wyoming,
Yeah,
Keep
leave
it
a comment.
Keep it on the download.
Yeah, well, don't leave a comment.
you owe your county one donkey. All right. You've been watching Jackalopes Explore. I wonder if the Jackalopes.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
They sell the license on the 29th day of February.